To be for informational purposes only. The information does not constitute legal advice. The law constantly changes. The information may not be complete or correct depending on the date and your particular legal problem. Each legal problem depends on its individual facts, and different jurisdictions have different laws and regulations. Because of these differences, you should not act or rely on any information in this segment without seeking the advice of a competent attorney licensed to practice law in your jurisdiction for your particular problem. There's one of those right across the microphone from me right now. His name is Marshall Chriswell. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to have you back in the studio with us this morning.
Nice to be here on a beautiful, beautiful day.
Well, you got up the street. That's all we care about. So we hear these days of a lot of different people, attorneys, who are announcing their candidacy for Magisterial District Judge in Indiana County. There are several, of course, court levels and court layers, and that is one of them.
Right.
I've spent some time maybe reviewing that, what the magisterial court system is and what it does, and then who are the people who are qualified in order to serve in that position as a judge.
Sure. Magisterial district courts are, in a lot of ways, they're kind of where the rubber meets the road in terms of our judiciary. The district courts deal with number one, preliminary criminal matters. Mm-hmm. So the magistrate judges will conduct preliminary arraignments whenever someone is arrested. They need to be informed of their rights, and an interim bail. Bail needs to be set within a short amount of time, so they do that at a preliminary arraignment. They also do preliminary hearings. They conduct preliminary hearings, which generally is held within a couple of weeks of someone being arrested for a misdemeanor or a felony, and that's a proceeding where the prosecutors and law enforcement are going to attempt to make a case that charges should move forward. So that's a very important role of the magisterial district judge. Additionally, they hear civil matters, kind of like a small claims court. They hear civil matters under $12,000.
Okay.
So any civil dispute under $12,000 you can file at a magistrate and have it heard there, rather than filing in the common pleas court, like the courthouse across the street from us here, which is, a lawsuit in common pleas court is more complex. Takes a lot longer to get it resolved, more expensive. So the magisterial district court serves an important function on those lower level cases. Additionally, magisterial district courts are responsible for all landlord-tenant cases. Initial landlord-tenant cases, whether it's brought by the landlord or by the tenant, is the jurisdiction is solely with magisterial district court. Mm-hmm. So that's another very important function. And the district courts are designed to, and it can be tricky, that they're, in some ways, they're set up to be more friendly to folks that don't have attorneys. Okay. In some ways they are. But I have a lot of people that ask me, should I go to district court without an attorney? And if it's a few $100s or $1,000 or something like that, then it's probably not worth paying attorney's fees. But
people take traffic tickets there too.
That's another thing: traffic tickets and summary offenses. Mm-hmm. So if you have something like a disorderly conduct, a public drunkenness, a harassment charge, things like that are just summary offenses, or traffic tickets, those are under the jurisdiction of the magistrate court as well. Mm-hmm. Now, do you want to go there without an attorney? Like I said, small amount, something like that, yeah, maybe. But you have to remember that all the rules of evidence, all the rules of evidence that would apply in the big courthouse generally are going to apply at the magistrate court as well. So you have to be familiar with how to present evidence and elicit admissible and relevant testimony, and present exhibits and things like that.
Yeah.
So It's more relaxed in that respect. Most magistrates are going to run their courtroom a little more relaxed than would be at a common pleas court. But if it's a significant issue or something that you think might end up being appealed to the common pleas court, you're probably going to want to have an attorney represent you there. So magistrates, like I said, it's where the rubber meets the road, and it's important. I'm not endorsing any candidates, but it's important that you have the right person in the seat there, because they deal with a wide range of issues.
There are qualification, I don't know if tests are the word for it, but qualification courses that one must pass in order to serve that, yes?
Right, yeah. There are, like you said, there are courses, and they're training a certain number of hours of training, and I don't know exactly what it is, but it's pretty significant yearly annual training that these magistrates do. And then I know there's larger training every 3 years or every 5 years. So they do keep abreast of changes in the law. It's interesting that you're not required to be an attorney. You don't need to have a law degree to become a magisterial district judge. So that's interesting, and with the training that you receive, I think that and the issues, while they're broad, they're not as broad as a common pleas judge. So I would say most magistrates in Pennsylvania do not have a law degree.
Now, Indiana County has 4 magisterial district courts, I believe.
Excuse me.
Indiana, Clymer, Homer City, and Blairsville.
Right.
2 of those are up this year, I believe. Indiana and Clymer, and Judge Thatchik is retiring.
Yes, Judge Thatchik's retiring, and Judge Haberl, I believe, is seeking another term.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's and Indiana County also has another judgeship up, and that's in the Court of Common Pleas that is up for election this year.
That's right, yeah. Judge Hanna retired last year, and so we have a vacancy. Right now we have 2 full-time judges, Judge Martin and Judge Bianco, so we're going to have an election this November, and somebody will be in place starting in January. Until then, they've been kind of filling the gap with senior judges. Pennsylvania has a program where retired judges can go to different counties and help fill in. So that's been helpful. But it'll be nice, I think, for everybody whenever that position gets filled.
In the magisterial district courts, of course, when there are criminal cases filed, and even the most serious criminal cases start there. Certainly representation when you get into misdemeanor crimes and felony crimes, you're going to have an attorney. And they must consider the evidence and whether or not they merit a case to pass it on to common pleas court.
Yeah, the preliminary hearing is a really important step. Now, we've talked about that I don't do, I don't handle a lot of criminal cases, but it is important to be represented at that step. The preliminary hearing is essentially where the prosecution, the law enforcement comes in and says, here's the evidence that we have. Is it enough to move forward? And the burden of proof is what we call preponderance of the evidence. Essentially, they only have to prove by 51 to 49%. If you're talking about scales, the burden, 51%, more likely than not that the crime was committed and that you were the person that committed the crime. So it's a very low burden. So it's important to be represented there. It's also important because that's a step when, if you have an attorney, intervention by an attorney there can a lot of times get charges reduced. Just by negotiating and hashing out the facts and the legal standards with the district attorney, the assistant district attorney, or and law enforcement. So that it's very important to be represented there.
Absolutely. Okay, so we pretty much, when it comes to walking into a courtroom, if you have any doubts about your ability to make your point in a legal way, you want to be represented.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter what the courtroom, really.
That's really true because, and like I said, one of the biggest reasons is because of the rules of evidence. The problem that I see, people come to me and say, well, I had a hearing, and I think that the facts were on my side. I think that I should have won, but the judge disallowed the documents, the photographs, the testimony that would have proven that. And if you can't get the evidence into the record, it doesn't matter if you're on the right side or not.
There are proper procedures to be followed in the introduction of that evidence as well.
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah. Marshall Chriswell is with us. The program is called Martial Law. We're discussing magisterial district courts in particular and courts in general, of course, for Indiana County. And that's, of course, where we are. When someone has a legal case that they're taking in, and you mentioned this briefly a couple of moments ago, landlord-tenant cases, they're going to end up in magisterial district court.
Yes, most landlord-tenant, residential and commercial, generally are going to end up in magisterial district court first.
Whether you're a landlord or a tenant, if you know that you have a case, you can pretty well decide that your opponent is going to have an attorney, isn't he?
Pretty much.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Especially if it's the landlord.
If you're the tenant and you think that you have some arguments to make as to why you don't owe the rent that they say, or why you shouldn't be evicted, man, I know that can be a difficult situation financially sometimes, but hiring an attorney is going to be really important because you're absolutely right. Your landlord is going to show up with an attorney, and landlords generally tend to have pretty decent record keeping, particularly if it's if it's a property management company or a realtor or something like that. So they're going to kind of maybe have a little bit of an advantage just from the start.
And we're not trying to paint a landlord as the big evil party here. And whatever the case's merits might be, landlords have their case. Tenants, if they're going to go into court against a landlord, had better have theirs. And the best way is with representation.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah.
All right, very good. And if you are seeking representation, I know an attorney. He's across the way from me right now. Marshall, how do folks get in touch with you?
Online at www.westernpalawyer.com. Stop by the office in the Atrium building here in downtown Indiana, or call 724-465-5826.
There you go. I'm looking
Thanks,
outside at the weather. Be careful walking away from here, okay?
Well, I don't have too far to go, but thank you, and take care.
Just checking up on the weather forecast. They are still only saying that 1 to 2 inches today. Well, we've certainly got that much and more already. It's Indiana in the Morning, AM 1160 WCCS, 101.1 FM.